Chapter 15. Echoes in the Dark. The warning came as a tremor, not strong enough to shake the ground, but enough to ripple through the village like a whisper carried on unseen currents. Lantern flames flickered, the faint glow of the plants dimmed momentarily, as though the world itself had drawn a sharp breath. Elara felt it immediately through the tether. A pulse, low and uneasy, vibrated along the chain. Kaelen was already standing. "What is it?" she asked, rising quickly. He tilted his head slightly, listening not with his ears but with something deeper. His expression sharpened, the calm warmth she had begun to recognize replaced by quiet alertness. "Something stirs beyond the ridge," he said. "Something that should not be awake." Outside, villagers were emerging from their homes, murmuring anxiously. Eryndra approached swiftly, her face drawn. "You felt it," she said. Kaelen nodded. "Where?" "The northern boundary. The watchers report movement in the deep groves." Elara's heart quickened. Another swarm like before? Eryndra shook her head slowly. Larger. A horn sounded, low and resonant, rolling across the settlement like distant thunder. Kaelen turned to Elara. "Stay near me." She lifted her chin slightly. "I wasn't planning to wander off." A faint flicker of approval crossed his face. They moved with the others toward the northern edge of the village. The ground there sloped upward into a dense cluster of towering, shadow-laced trees whose branches twisted like reaching hands. A line of villagers stood ready, some holding tools, others carrying small glowing stones that hummed faintly with protective magic. Elara felt a surge of admiration. They were not warriors by nature, yet they stood firm. The forest beyond shifted. At first, it was only a subtle distortion, shadows thickening, gathering unnaturally between the trees. Then a shape emerged, massive. Its form seemed carved from darkness itself, edges dissolving and reforming like smoke caught in a storm. Faint veins of dim, pulsing light traced across its surface, as though something within struggled to remain whole. Elara's breath caught. "What is that?" Kaelen's voice was quiet. "An echo warden." "Echo of what?" "Of damage," he said simply. The creature stepped forward, each movement accompanied by a low, grinding sound like distant stone shifting. The tether flared. Pain flickered along Elara's wrist, sharp but brief. "It's reacting to us," she said. "To the artifact, and to imbalance." The echo warden released a sound, a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to press against Elara's chest rather than her ears. The villagers held their ground, though fear was visible in their eyes. Kaelen stepped forward. "Elara," he said softly, "I will hold it. Support where you can." She nodded, summoning light into her palms. Golden strands formed instinctively, weaving into a radiant arc that illuminated the clearing. The creature recoiled slightly, its shadow form rippling. Kaelen raised his hand. Darkness gathered around him, not violent but controlled, like a tide answering the pull of the moon. The shadows of the forest bent toward his will, coiling around his arm. "Return," he commanded. The echo warden advanced instead. The ground trembled with its steps. Elara extended her light, shaping it into a lattice that spread across the front line, reinforcing the villagers' protective field. Sweat beaded on her brow as she balanced precision with restraint. Too much light, and she risked feeding the creature. The echo warden struck. A wave of force rippled outward, colliding with the barrier in a burst of dim sparks. The villagers staggered but held. Kaelen moved with fluid speed, shadow energy flowing from his hand into a spear of condensed darkness. He drove it forward, not to destroy, but to anchor the creature in place. "Elara," he called. Understanding flashed through Elara. She focused, weaving threads of light into the anchor point, stabilizing the energy rather than amplifying it. The tether between them glowed brilliantly, harmonizing their magic. For a moment, the world seemed to hold still. Light and shadow intertwined, forming a balanced resonance that pulsed outward like a steady heartbeat. The Echo Warden shuddered. Its forms softened, edges losing their jagged distinction. The grinding sound faded into a low hum. Slowly, it sank back into the forest floor, dissolving like mist at dawn. Silence followed. Elara released the light, her arms trembling with exhaustion. The villagers exhaled collectively, tension easing. Kaelen lowered his hand, turning to assess the boundary. "Is anyone hurt?" A few minor injuries were reported, but no serious harm. Eryndra approached, relief evident in her eyes. "It has been many cycles since one came this close." Elara wiped sweat from her brow. "What caused it?" Eryndra's gaze flicked upward instinctively. "The deeper imbalance grows," she said quietly. "The world responds." Elara felt a knot tighten in her chest. Kaelen looked at her, expression thoughtful. "You felt how our powers aligned." She nodded slowly. "It was different, like they were meant to work together." "Perhaps," he said softly, "they always were." As the villagers returned to their homes, murmuring with renewed calm, Elara remained at the edge of the forest, watching the shadows settle. Her pulse still echoed with the memory of shared power. "You did well," Kaelen said, stepping beside her. She glanced at him. "So did you." A faint smile touched his lips. After a moment, she asked quietly, "Will there be more?" "Yes," he said, "until the balance is restored." Elara looked toward the unseen sky above, thoughts heavy. "I came to save my city." Kaelen followed her gaze. "And you may yet do so." She met his eyes. "But not at the cost of yours." The tether glowed warmly between them, its light steady and sure. For the first time, the path ahead felt not just uncertain, but shared. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled softly through the shadow wilds, like the world itself shifting in uneasy sleep. The journey was far from over, and the forces awakening in the dark were only beginning to stir.